Good afternoon. Jeffrey Feiner here, representing by notice of appearance, Councilwoman Wilkerson.
Thank you.
Had a motion to dismiss that was set forth in the original documents prepared by Ms. Wilkerson. I can't direct a whole lot of information towards those. I had no role in drafting them. I came on this case on Tuesday and read the complaint and such this week. But on the basis of the dismissal, I'd say the following. There's no dispute that Ms. Wilkerson was using a private phone and a private email account when she received an AOL message from an individual who does not have involvement with the city employment. And she learned of this email in her spam account from the complaint itself. There's nothing to suggest she ever saw the email before or acted on it. An email into a spam account is not something any of us can be responsible for. I'd hesitate to worry that this commission that has enough to do would not want to be trolling through people's spam accounts. There are 63 additional emails that day, and they weren't looked at either. And so essentially, there is nothing before this group which suggests there was a quid pro quo, a benefit to be gained personally, or any misuse of equipment. This was sent to a personal AOL account that's used for signing up for Reader's Digest articles and such like on the web. It has no connection to city business whatsoever. The second issue is a little more complicated because you do not have a fact before you, and that fact would be, and I would proffer it to you, that when Ms. Wilkerson learned of the complaint and saw the email in her AOL account, there is a suggestion that she should have then been aware of an issue and reported it to this board. In effect, the petitioner is suggesting that if you learn about something from a complaint, then you need to complain as well on top of it, that somehow someone is responsible to add another complaint on top of the one that's filed, so that you get two people telling you that there's an issue. And essentially, there's not a rule covering this, but I would suggest with respect to the commission that it is not an ethical violation when you read about a violation and you might know something about it, that you are also required thereby to file your own petition on the violation. That is a redundancy that will grind you to a halt. Those are the two issues before you. Did she get an email and participate in it? No, she didn't even know she got the email. It went to her junk account. And secondly, when she learned that there was this email, was she required to come to you to tell you there had been this violation? Well, she could have, I suppose, but what she did is went to HR and presented the issue to Human Resources to ask, what is my responsibility? The Ethics Commission has a complaint, it involves such and such, and she was advised, well, then they have it before them. And so, for those two reasons, I would ask that you dismiss. There are no facts before you that would warrant a finding that there was any violation of any of the ethics rules. We're talking about a different email, by the way, and one that was not solicited or read or acted on by the respondent. Found it in her email when she read Mr. Muller's complaint. That's the end of that. And as for being complaining about subordinates, you don't complain about a subordinate or someone else who already has the facts for the commission, unless you want to start running those things on Zoom meetings when everyone's phone line is open at the same time and you start getting signal feedback. I don't think the commission was intended to do it. For that reason, I'd ask that this be dismissed. There's no series of facts that would support a finding.
Mr. Muller, do you have any words to say about the motion to dismiss?
The Ethics Code provides an opportunity for inquiry. And the inquiry that I put before you is in Councilmember Wilkerson's response. She states that the complaint itself is wholly dependent on October 23rd, 2022 group email initiated by Mary Winkus and addressed to Brian Parker here after the Winkus email. Winkus email is not addressed to me, I'm using quotes, but I was included as a CC using my private email address. There's no evidence whatsoever that I initiated the email, responded to the email, or otherwise encouraged the email in any way, which Mr. Feiner just referenced. But it confirms something. One, it was a known quantity. She knew about the email. Whether she got it from me or not doesn't matter. She stopped short of asserting whether she was party to other emails, subject matter, phone calls, text messages, in-person communications with regard to this legislation outside of public knowledge. She asserts no evidence. Checking, it's limited. That's why I posed the inquiry. That's what the purpose of that part of the ethics code is for. The main function here is council members as leaders of our community have a due diligence to set forth the highest bar as civil servants. And that includes responding to people that are known parties to that person, that my personal email, my text messages, my Facebook or Instagram Messenger is not the place to communicate with me on city business. We have council members that have that as their outgoing voicemail. If this is city business on my personal phone, call this number at City Hall. But whether it's spam or not, I check my spam folder. It comes about at some point. It clearly came out during the discovery and public records request, so it existed. But I agree, this is a challenge, and I don't imagine that this group's ever been faced with an inquiry before, and not one of this nature. And that's the main response I have to the motion to dismiss.
May I be heard? You're being asked to create a duty that everyone who works for the city tells everyone they know and everyone they don't know, anyone who might send them an email, never send me anything related to city business because I'm a city employee. And if you use my private email, I'm going to have to report that to an ethics commission. That is an inquisition system. And I reject it flat out. And it's a new rule. And if you want to pass a new rule, go for it. But you cannot inflict a new rule on someone who passively, ignorantly, unknowingly received an email that upsets and aggrieves someone who lives in the city Spokane boundaries. This is without merit, and it borders. I'm volunteering for this. This is pro bono publico. This is for the good of the people like you on this committee. I am volunteering to come and defend our council people who are at times subjected to vehement concerns that don't have substance. There's no substance to this. You can use city equipment. In that little bit in the RCW that Mr. Mueller was good enough to quote, city officials and employees are encouraged to participate in the political process on their own time. That's not largesse. That's First Amendment. I litigate that routinely against this city sometimes. Usually I'm opposing the city. We do not control the private property of our public employees. We do not control their private moments. We do not control their private discussions. We certainly don't control their spam. This needs to be dismissed.
Is there a motion from the commission to either grant or dismiss the motion to dismiss?
I will make a motion to grant the motion to dismiss.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Or, yeah, is there any discussion?
I would have to, I would have to agree. I get I get email all the time. I have an email account that I never, ever look at because I use it for those things you have to put an email on. And like my Safeway card, let's be honest. I don't want emails from Safeway. So, and if she didn't respond to it, she didn't conduct any business. So I feel this is really a non-case here. That's just what I wanted to say. So,
My question to the fellow commissioners would be, because I've not made up my mind about anything involving this complaint. I've read through the documents and I'm prepared to hear both parties. But we established jurisdiction 2.5, 3 months ago, where it said that if the alleged facts were found to be true, that it would violate the code of ethics. So I'm curious to know, I would want to hear more from both parties if we established that we had jurisdiction in the matter.
I would just add that procedurally, you also provide the opportunity for a motion to dismiss. That gives the parties a chance to flesh out their complaints.
Sure.
You give them the benefit of the doubt at the jurisdictional stage. Now you come to the stage of, after all the briefing, are there facts to demonstrate to overcome a motion to dismiss?
And has there been any communication between the parties for resolution before coming to the commission? Or what do we call those? Like, not adjudication.
Stipulation.
A stipulation. Have any of the parties maybe agreed to a stipulation for commission? Or is that still on the table instead of having to go through the full hearing?
There was no action regarding stipulation.
motion's on the table.
And it's been seconded. Is there any other discussion?
I want to say something about this. This takes me back 65 years when I had a problem with my dad. And my dad chewed my butt royally. He says, and the reason I'm doing that, you didn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't pass the smell test. Unfortunately, politicians aspire, volunteer their time, but they're paid, have to pass the smell test to the public. And I'll leave it at that.
Is there any other further discussion? The motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? So the motion to dismiss is granted, and complaint number